Welcome, one and all, to the first annual baseball movie. Today's game is brought to you by the Subscribers, an elite group of moviegoers and watchers that are ready for the next big scoop. Now be sure to give this video a thumbs up and to press that subscribe button if you want to become one of these absolutely amazing group of people, if I don't say so myself. Now, let's play ball! Well, hello there. I hope you guys are enjoying the background. I've definitely upped the antics when it comes to the looks in the back. I like it. I think it looks really good. I've also increased the scaling of my camera itself. I'm using, for those of you who don't know, I'm using my phone to record. That's why it lags every now and again, because on this screen I've got the whole setup to where I can, see, it's doing the lagging, where I can see the camera and what it sees, and then in front of me I have my script and everything. But one big problem with using your phone while recording is the app program thing that I have. It'll occasionally lag, not because it's bad, but more of the fact that my service is really bad. Just where I live, it's not the greatest. But if you see any lagging, if I don't manage to catch it from my peripherals, it is not you guys, it is me, I promise. Now, today we have a really interesting movie to cover, and I've kind of broken this video down into two main parts. You have the part about the facts and the nitty-gritty of the movie, and then you have my actual opinions of the movie. And just for some structure, I think we're gonna start off with the Today's movie is The League of Their Own. It's a comedy sports movie based off of the beginnings of the AAGPBL, or the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. Now, let me preface this. This movie is very loosely based on reality. Very loosely. It's not factual, actual events that have occurred, and it's more of an in honor of the beginnings of the AAGPBL. But since we're starting with the facts, I think it would be super interesting if I did a very, very, very brief history lesson for you guys and the beginnings of the AAGPBL. I got it right that time. History facts with Professor J. All right. The All-American Girls Professional Baseball League was founded in 1943. During World War II, as a means of a reaction to the lack of men in the country playing baseball due to war. And for those of you who don't know, during the 40s, most of the US jobs were filled by women doing their part. They did work from working in the shipyards, to the factories, to welding, to basically everything you need to do in order to run a country was done by the women of this country. And this spawned almost an epidemic of propaganda that stirred most women into action. Think of the Rosie the Riveter, the iconic poster girl. Now, when I say propaganda, that sounds really bad. And in most cases, propaganda usually isn't a good thing, but there are rare occasions where it is a benefit to a certain degree. And it doesn't sound right, but it really helped this country grow. And I really appreciate at the end of the movie, they very heavily focus on specifically the women of this country doing these jobs and what is supposed to happen when the men come back and they're wanting their jobs back, but the women have been doing it for years now. So it was a really interesting point that they brought up at the end of the movie that I'm really glad that they actually said. Now, look, the point is people back in the States needed some form of entertainment, and baseball was really big because it was one of the very first actual American sports And so there were a lot of people were dying for some entertainment. And thus the AAGPBL and many other women's sports organizations were created. And thus the plot of this movie was created. If you're interested in learning any more about the AAGPBL's whole shindig, I'll leave a link to their website down in the description below. Back to the movie facts, now that I've given you a little brief history moment. No more Professor J. A League of Their Own was directed by Penny Marshall, whose other work included Big, which also starred Hank Toms. It also starred Tom Hanks, and The Awakening, Awakenings, which I know nothing about. I saw that it has Robin Williams and Leonardo DiCaprio in it, so it could be really good, but I know nothing about the movie. If you know, without spoilers, tell me about it. Maybe I can cover it at some point. I was also doing a little bit more research, and I found out who composed this. And I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I had no clue and could not have guessed that Hans freaking Zimmer himself composed this movie. For those of you who don't know, Hans Zimmer composed some of the most amazing soundtracks in the history of cinematography. He composed the Dark Knight trilogy, he composed Pirates of the Caribbean, he even did Lion King. This man, like if you go through the list of the movies that this man has covered, this movie, League of Their Own, really feels like some sort of outlier. Like, why is it here? And what's even more interesting is the soundtrack and the background music really and truly was subdued, which I think is very good for what this movie needed. It's what this movie required for the type of movie that it is. And I can really appreciate how much effort was put into not over exemplifying the music behind certain scenes that had the background music. It was just really well done. Now, the last little fact that I want to talk about is how much this movie grossed in the box office. And for those of you who know me and for all of my friends and stuff, I have this saying where you can't really judge a movie based off of how much it makes in the box office, because there are some real bangers out there that have done absolutely atrocious in the box office. And then there are other movies that are real piles of garbage and grossed millions of dollars. However, this movie had a budget of $40 million and made $132.4 million. And I really think that $132.4 million is nothing to laugh at. And that is at least just my opinion. Welcome to the opinion section of the video. If I didn't lose you earlier, then I might lose you now, because for anybody who is new here, I'm very opinionated and not everybody agrees with my opinions. We'll just say that. First thing that I want to talk about, very first thing that I want to talk about when it comes to the things that I enjoyed about this movie is the comedy. I thought this movie was hilarious because it has some of the funniest comebacks and quips I've ever seen. Like, it is really funny. I'll include a couple of examples here.
I especially like that move in the fifth inning when you scratched your balls for an hour.
Well, anything worth doing is worth doing right.
Are you crying? Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball. What's the matter, Jimmy? What? She's crying, sir. Perhaps you chastised her too vehemently.
Anyone ever tell you look like a penis with a little hat on?
You're out of here!
Oh, no,
right
no,
now,
no,
Jimmy,
you,
I heard
you
that.
Misunderstood me.
You misunderstood me. You can't throw me out for that. No, you.
But come on, you can't look at me and tell me that those aren't funny. They really are. I think it was absolutely hilarious. Also, the general vibe of the movie was really good. It was very upbeat. There wasn't a lot of super surreal drama. There was only one real scene that actually had any like substantial drama behind it, but it was mostly just kind of a feel-good movie. And I can appreciate that. I like that. Now we're going to talk about some of the things that I didn't really like. There were more than a few times where there were sexual jokes that involved or were in relations to children. And that is a landmine that I'm not going to step on. But I am just going to say it made me really uncomfortable whenever those things happened. They were just really off-putting too, because they were out of nowhere. And this has absolutely nothing to do with the actual opinion of the movie, but I was watching it on YouTube, right? And, or YouTube movies or whatever. And for some reason, my YouTube was glitched for the first 10 minutes of the movie, where everything was super saturated, overly saturated, to the point to where everybody was bright pink, neon pink. I had to close YouTube and reopen it because I was like, I'm looking at the photos of this movie and I don't remember it being where everybody was just so pink. But I'm really glad I fixed it. But it was just a really funny thing that happened to me. And lastly, the last little thing that I both didn't like and also thought was kind of weird is there was a very odd and oddly suggestive link between Dottie and Jimmy. They were almost flirting, but almost not. And then she's married, and I don't know, that also kind of threw me for a little bit of a loop. But with that being said, I still think it was a really good movie. Out of the negatives, being some of the themes of the jokes and some the oddly mixed messages I got between Jimmy and Dottie, I still thought it was a solid 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it, and I learned stuff, which is really cool. I really like learning and doing research for this movie and stuff. I learned a lot of stuff about the States, or back home life during World War II, which is always really interesting. Now, I hope I've earned a like. If I did, don't forget to do that. And if I missed anything, or if there's anything that you want to say, or you want to add, or anything at all, how's your day? Those kinds of things. Leave it down in the comments below, and I'll try and respond to as many of them as I can. And I guess I'll catch you guys in the next video. See ya.